Amen. Good morning again.
Good morning.
You all remember what we did yesterday? If you've thought of any other comments or questions regarding to what we did yesterday, since then, please raise your hand. Remember, this is a class, not a presentation. So we began by going over the line of the 144,000. We built up the pattern of 1989, 9/11, Sunday law, close with probation, second advent. And then we started to construct the three groups, priests, Levites and Nethinims. Could simplify it and just call them first, second and third. These three groups. So we described how this is all the symbology of the hand, the 5 key waymarks, the 5 fingers, the 4 spaces, the 4 dispensations separating. So it's a simple way to remember it as the hand, and we went to just a couple of the quotes that talk about the hand of God as being the mechanism of gathering his people or bringing them out from captivity. And then we began to speak about the repeating pattern. And I asked how we understood the repeating pattern, and a brother took us to the history of the Millerites that showed that before the shut door of October 22, there was this increase of knowledge and formalization of the message. So before October 22, the cry began July 21st. It swelled until August 1 at Concord. It reached the climax of the cry at August 14 and 15 at Exeter, and then the shut door of October 22. So whether we call it the midnight cry or the loud cry, it begins previous and then swells. We saw that this pattern that we see between Boston and October 22 is the same pattern that we see at the beginning of the Reform line in Millerite history, 1798, 1818, 1833, 1840. So you have the same increase of knowledge, formalization, test. The same pattern. So within 2 of these 4 dispensations of the Reform line, there is this repeating pattern of a message that arrives into history and then is going to swell. Starts quietly. People may not even know of its existence, but it is going to grow, it's going to develop, become more refined, and more people are going to start speaking that message. So this repeating pattern repeated between Sunday law and close of probation. We brought that into the Reform line of the priests. When we brought that into the Reform line of the priests, we identified in the history of our ploughing, first dispensation, Daniel was unsealed, a message arrived, it swelled, it was formalized, and then a test. We see that again, 14 to 19, because 2014 is the Sunday law. Therefore, it must have the same properties as what we see on the line of the 144,000. A message arrives, it's going to swell, it's going to be formalized, and then the test. So we recognize that in these 2 dispensations, there's the same pattern. And then upon further investigation, we identified that this repeating pattern, if it's in 2 of our dispensations, on the testimony of 2, how many dispensations must it be in? All of them. Because if there's a message that does the ploughing and a message that is the latter rain, there must be a message that is the early rain, and a message that conducts the harvest. Every dispensation ending in a test. Test, 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 test. We identified 1996. So first of all, we'll review this a little more. There's just a couple of added symbols I want us to remember. We probably all know them, but it's easy to forget them. Boston, 2014, July 21st. What is significant about July 21, the date? If you can raise your hand. My brother. If you can talk really loudly, because now we have fans.
Right, it's midway between April 19 and 22nd October 1944, and also there's a swelling in the message.
So, July 21st, what is its relation to April 19 and October 22?
It is midway.
Midway.
Yes.
Does anyone know how many days this is?
27.
Sorry? 187 days? Does everyone agree with that? If this is 187 days, when is the midpoint? We'll plug it in. April 19. April 19. Calculated, it's 186 days. Because you don't include April 19. You go from April 20, day 1, calculate further on. So it's close, it's 186 days, not including the first, April 19 to October 22. Is that okay? So what's midway between 186? What's half of that? 93, and if you were to go back 93 days? 93 days, 93 days. Takes you to July 21st. Why does that become significant for them? My sister. Why is it of interest? Why would they have this symbol of midway here? What does that help them with their message? What parable are they fulfilling? Matthew 25? Yes. So why would you just take this part mid? So a cry is made at midnight. So why do you think they are interested in this date, July 21st? So they know they're fulfilling the parable of the 10 virgins. They can identify that midway between the disappointment of April 19 and October 22, that there is a cry made, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh." How do you identify the cry in July 21 when we say the midnight cry is August 15? How do you explain that? Anyone can raise their hands unless you want to do that.
Can it be a myth that stigmas related to us?
So you're saying the message came here? And it's identified as the cry? And what is that cry going to do? Swell. So, going back to the parable of the 10 virgins, you can identify the midnight cry. Its arrival is in July 21st. Is that okay? So the cry in the parable of the 10 virgins, the cry is made, if we were to turn to Matthew 25. Matthew 25 verse 6. Matthew 25 verse 6.
And at midnight there was a cry that, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him.
So at midnight there's a cry made, and they identify that midnight. What's significant about the timing of midnight? The timing. My brother? Louder? It's midway? Midnight? Break the word down.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night. It's just midnight. Identified as the middle of the night. So it's another symbol of a midway or a midway point. So they see in Matthew 25:6, there's a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. And at that Boston camp meeting, Samuel Snow raises that cry. But it's quiet. Not many people are listening at Boston. More people are going to join at Concord, and then at Exeter it's going to reach its climax. So the beginning of the cry, its arrival, is here. Then Concord, then Exeter. We have any questions or thoughts to add on that? All we're doing is reminding ourselves, when we come to this July 21st, we have symbols that we need to remember. So when we take this pattern and apply it over here, first to the Sunday law and the line of the 144,000, what symbols do we need to take? What's a symbol we can take to the Sunday law? Midway? We can take the symbols of midway, or midnight. Why do we talk about midnight and a midnight cry? We get it from Matthew 25 and from Millerite history. So question, let's give Sunday law a date. This one. It means nothing. We have no reason to go it. So someone just shout out a random date for Sunday law. On the line of 144,000. It has to be in the future. Don't take anything prophetic to it. This is just an exercise. 2020. Okay, so if we say this is 2024, we have 2001, 2024, yes? How many years? 23 years. We all see that 9/11 is also April 19. We're all okay with that. So 23 years, do you think it's 23 years from the Sunday law to Michael standing up? And yet we're going to call this midway or midnight. My brother, how can you justify that? Because I'm going to say this is midnight. Or midway. We're going to build whole prophetic studies that lead to our understanding of the Sunday law. Much of what we understand about the Sunday law coming from our understanding that this waymark is a midway point. So if we miss a trick here, we have to start taking apart the midnight cry. We have to be able to say that this is midway. My brother.
If you go and look into the principle of the natural and spiritual, you can understand that faith is natural and the second is spiritual. So, and the first template that we get the symbol of Millerite and the midway is Millerite history. So Millerite history is going to be natural and our history is going to be spiritual. Therefore, what we're going to take from the Millerite history are the symbolisms of those waymarks. So midnight is going to be symbolism of Sunday law, symbolically, not literally, that we're going to have a equal period that is going to be on one side and the other side of the Sunday law. So I'm saying it's spiritual or symbolic and not literal again.
Brother Rogers.
So I want to just to what you're saying. So one thing we need to understand is that we went from the natural to the spiritual. But we need to explain how the natural and spiritual works. So for example, you get a sheep, the symbol of a Christian, you're going to pick certain specific characteristics from a sheep to ensure that it represents a Christian. For example, a sheep has 4 legs. We don't say because a sheep has 4 legs, a Christian has 4 legs. We pick certain things. So when you go to Millerite history and you look at this time from July to October, you should be able first of all to identify which characteristics are going to pick and import them to the end of the one. And I'm saying what we are picking from there is not the number that July is 93 days from April and 93 days to October, but we are picking up the characteristic of midpoint. That's what we are picking and bringing to the end of the one.
My brother, you were next.
Okay. I wish to use the parable of the line of the priest. So if you have to say from the line of the priest, from 9/11 to 2014, it's like 13 years. So those 13 years, if you have to project them into the future, is past beyond our close of probation. So with the justification of that line, because it has direct application to the line of the 144,000, then I would say that our close of probation is not going to take 13 years or 23 years, but it would be shorter than that because the line of the priest is saying so.
So this is where we have to see two concepts. First of all, we have to be able to identify the symbol of midnight or midway in 2014. And it's this understanding of 2014 as a midway point that gives us November 9, 2019. We have to be able to justify that through the rules of parable teaching. So this is how important those rules become. If we don't understand the rules, then we start to no longer be able to explain the methodology that brings us to these waymarks. I'll give an example of how we use this. If we were to say $1865 plus a 126 takes us to 2016. We see that? What happens in 1865? You have Obama. Sorry, the application.
Last one.
151.
Sorry, 151. So we have Abraham Lincoln. And Andrew Johnson. What happens to Abraham Lincoln in this year? He's assassinated and then Andrew Johnson becomes president. We take that to 2016 and what do we say? Obama and Trump. Lincoln, he literally died, yes? Obama, did he literally die? But can you take the symbology of that? Politically,
Yes.
Andrew Johnson. Was he elected by the people? Donald Trump. Was he elected by the people? No. So you start to see that when we take this symbology, Andrew Johnson, Trump is not literally Andrew Johnson, is he? He's not the reincarnation of this president. But you take the symbology of Andrew Johnson and you apply it to Trump. He's not the literal person. We take Adolf Hitler and apply him to Trump. Trump is not literally Adolf Hitler, but he takes on the symbology of Hitler. We're taking that symbology, the fact that we say literal, spiritual, or literal or symbolic, it doesn't mean that the symbol no longer exists, that it's a figment of our imagination. Hitler was a literal dictator. Trump is a literal dictator, yes? Literal dictator, literal dictator. But Trump is not literally Hitler. Literal Hitler, symbolic Hitler. So when we take July 21st is the literal, 2014 is the spiritual or the symbolic. So it doesn't need to take the literal characteristics with it. It's not literally midway, but it carries with it the symbol. Can we see that? Do we have any questions over that? We're all okay with that. So we take the symbology from Millerite history and apply it to 2014. That symbolically, not literally, because the literal does not work. Symbolically, we can identify it as midway or midnight. So if we, for a long time when we were talking about the line of the priests, we talk about our close of probation at midnight. Was that accurate? No, because we're saying that at midnight, 2019, our probation closes. But for the priests, when is their midnight? Here. So that's one of the symbols that we need to remember. Midnight or midway becomes very important when we start identifying 2019. We go back to the 1950s history based on the midnight. It takes us back to the French Revolution, to the American Civil War, etc. So that's one of the symbols we need to remember. Another symbol. Boston, Concord, Exeter. What does Concord mean? Argument? Agreement. Can you give me a verse for that? 1 Corinthians 6:17.
Second Chronicles.
2 Chronicles.
Corinthians.
2 Corinthians 6:17.
This 15.
2 Corinthians 6:15.
What comfort can describe the Biant, or what part do that mean?
And what concord hath Christ with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? So can Christ and Belial be in concord? Or can Christ and Satan be in agreement or in union? So when we take this symbol of concord, this state that exists between the arrival of the cry and its full swelling, between Sunday law and the loud cry, what symbology does it carry with it? Increase of knowledge is true, but we're taking the word concord and the agreement and bringing it to this history. So I would suggest that at this way mark, whatever point that we're marking within these two way marks, must have some symbology attached to it because of its name of Concord. Can anyone give us some examples of where we can see that in history when it comes to marking these waymarks? You can raise your hand and then speak loud over the fans.
You know the American Civil War. The first event was called Lexington.
Where do you want to place that on these lines? Take me first to the line and then... This one? So that would be down here. We identify this as being 2020. And what is it about the American Civil War? We had 273. And what battle was that began the American Civil War? So it was the Battle of Lexington and Concord that began the American Civil War. And what do you take of the 273? Why is that significant? Yes, sister. You find it in Acts 27? And where does it take you from Acts 27? Pyrrhus? Where in Pyrrhus? Sorry, a little louder. And in that story, where would you place that on this line? On these lines? The 273 of Pyrrhus. In application, where is it on these lines? Sorry? You want to place it here? Does everyone agree?
No.
Where do you want to place it? After Biant? Here? This is where we place it. And what's significant about this waymark? Brother Willie.
Ask the question.
I thought you were answering it.
I think that Christ did.
Sorry?
When you go to Acts 27, connected with the symbol of 273, is this giving of a message?
Yes? And what's significant about placing it here?
The historical context, if you go to 273, you see there is this diplomatic, the diplomatic.
Without giving the history, why is it significant that it's there on the line? My brother.
Okay, if you have to go to Acts 27, the parable of sheep, you see that the 273 is the number of passengers in the ship. So the number of passengers in that ship is related to Levites. So in that time period, they are also calling the Levites in the
So we know it's the harvest of the Levites.
Yeah.
What's significant about where it is on the line?
I say it's the time period between where the Levites are harvested. That time period.
Anyone else? My brother. Without history. Without history. I don't want the history of this.
Okay, and by king of the north, I mean America or Trump. So the one is beginning to recognize.
Without the history. Why is it here? What is significant about this? Is the increase of knowledge another word for that waymark? Increase of knowledge or concord? This is concord. Can we see that? The 273 is a symbol of a waymark identified as concord. And what is this? It's concord. So can you see that this number is linking? So this 273 from Pyrus is a concord. It links back to here, 273 of concord. But if we don't want to do it straight across, we can do it backwards. Concord here takes us. I'll try and identify our 5 key so it doesn't become so confusing. This 273 at concord takes us back to the prior dispensation of concord. So we have a concord, and that brings us back to 2016, which is a concord, and that they all have similarities. 273 we identify as concord because of that number. And what happens in 273? An alliance between Egypt and Rome. So what's the relationship between Egypt and Rome? They're in concord. They come into agreement. So we have an agreement here. We bring it back to this waymark, and we can see from the Battle of Lexington and Concord, it's identified as a concord. We can bring it back to 2016 and identify 2016 as a concord. Is that okay?
Yes.
So we're identifying each one of these waymarks must have, whether we understand it or not, some symbology connected with it that identifies it as an agreement or a concord. But what do we do with this one up here? Because this close of probation, Daniel 12:1 is a Boston, followed by concord and an Exeter and a shut door. So what's this waymark? The death decree. At the death decree, fair concord. Yes, there's unity against a group of believers. Does anyone have questions or thoughts so far? Anything you want to add? I'm just reminding us of some of the symbols that we can pull from this structure, because we can go over these 5 lines, but in our studies it becomes, I think, a good exercise to remember, wait, 2016 is a concord. There's agreement. What other concord have we not written up on our lines? What one are we missing? What's a significant concord we should be discussing? 2019. Why? So you want to take us to this line? Message opens up at 9:11, yes? It's going to increase, swell, to an increase of knowledge in 2019. Further swell to a formalization in 2021. Is everyone comfortable with that? That on the line of the 144,000, there is this long dispensation between 9/11 and the Sunday law. And in this dispensation, this is the plowing, yes? So from 9/11 to Sunday law is all early rain. And then from Sunday law begins the latter rain and then the harvest. So 9/11 to the Sunday law. This is one dispensation. Within this one dispensation, there must be an increase of knowledge, the formalization, and then a test. 2019 being an increase of knowledge. We discussed yesterday, when we have an increase of knowledge, then when it's formalized, where are we looking? Where's our focus? Forwards. So when we have this increase of knowledge in 2019, it's primarily an increase of knowledge on what? On the Sunday law, yes? So we have to be looking forward. When you shine a light Does it give you light only forwards? It also gives some light backwards. So every time we have an increase of knowledge in a dispensation, it also projects backwards. We're still learning about 1989, about 9/11 and 2014. We're still, every time we learn something, it projects some light backwards. But primarily, we're looking forwards. Is that okay? So 1991, 1996. Where were we looking? (1996) at the time of the End magazine. Where were we looking? Backwards. So in 1996, are we looking forward? Someone says yes. Explain.
The reason that we are going to blind ourselves not to focus on forward, but the line is going toward that we are supposed to look. Also, you can show that it's not going to look about 9/11, but it was looking about Sunday law, and Sunday law is forward. So you can imply that also it was looking forward, not only backward. That you can agree with the structure.
So my brother is saying, in this history, 1996, time of the End magazine, the point of what Elder Jeff is saying is that we have entered into the history, the end of the world, where the Sunday law is imminent. And he's not here seeing 9/11, 14, 19 fractals, anything. But the point that he's making is that the Sunday law is now imminent. We're in the final generation, and it's about to come. So can you see how he's still looking forwards? But are we doing that well? How well are we looking forwards? With how much precision? Very little. So 1996, looking forward to the Sunday law, Daniel 11:41, the Sunday law on the line of 144,000. We're not doing that very well, are we? We have no understanding of time, no understanding of fractals. So it's looking forward and saying, the Sunday law is coming, and after the Sunday law, the imminent return of Christ. But we're not doing that well, and it certainly seems that much of the light is projected backwards. Because to identify that we're in a history that's going to take us to the Sunday law, we have to identify that we have been back into the history of Daniel 11:40, there's a time of the end here. So it's going to shed light backwards and anchor us at the time of the end. Is that okay? Any other thoughts or questions on that point? Does it make sense? If it doesn't, please speak. There's no worry.
How is it that in 1986, I know we are looking forward and some looking shedding forward, but how are we looking back to 1989?
The increase of knowledge that Elder Jeff has in his history is, we just spoke about reform lines, but it's on Daniel 11:40. 40 really to 45. So what he's understanding is that 1989 is the time of the end. So there's light projected backwards to anchor us that here in 1989, Daniel 11:40 part B was fulfilled. In that way it sheds light backwards. But the significance of what he's saying is, because this is verse 40, what comes after verse 40? 41. So the significance of understanding that 40 part B is fulfilled, he believes at that stage it's fulfilled because he doesn't know that the King of the South is coming back. He doesn't know Raphia Panim. The significance of this is 40 is fulfilled, 41 is next. So the Sunday law is right in front of us. So it's projecting forward to the Sunday law, but there's also light shed backwards that opens up 1989. Is that okay? But we're okay to see that we're not doing it very well in 96. We come to 2009, and what information in this dispensation is significant for the movement? The 25-20. That's what I heard people say. 2012, what does that develop into? An understanding of time setting. So in 2012, are we looking forward or backwards? How well are we doing that in 2012? Sister Joy, how well are we doing it in 2012, looking forwards? Quite well? You think a lot better than 96? So doing it better here, because now we can see 2014. Now we can actually look forwards and set a date. So we're doing it better, but are we doing it perfectly? Do we know what the Sunday law is? Do we have a day or clarity on that? No. So we come to 2018, and where are we looking? Forwards. Is there light shed on the previous history? Yes. It's going to shed light all the way back. 2012, does that shed light on previous history? It's saying 1989 was the end of a 126 and a 151. So it adds strength to 1989 as the time of the end. So it also sheds light backwards. 2018 sheds light backwards. Now we're projecting forwards to 2019. How well are we doing that? Better than here? Now we're starting to understand what is happening in the United States, dictatorship, the church and state is coming together, and we're setting not only a year but a day. But how well do you think we're really doing there? Perfectly? With great clarity? I don't think we did. I don't think we had that great clarity in 2018. We had a certain amount, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't a complete picture. So we're getting better at it in every dispensation, yes? Our expectations of the future and what we're supposed to see, not only the timing of when it occurs, but what it looks like, is in every dispensation getting more and more refined. But it still does not become completely clear. So we should expect that as we go through these subsequent dispensations, how are we supposed to get at this? Better and better. How do you think we come to that improvement? How come we can improve? Does anyone here play a musical instrument? I haven't in a long time because you can't carry one with you. I used to play piano. And when I played piano, I had a very good teacher. And she said to me, she was very scary, she was about 90 years old and Catholic. She'd hit you if you did a wrong note. That's scary. Really nice. Scary. And she would teach us, if you want to be good on the piano, 90% of everything you play, it has to be what? Scales. So you have to do these scales up and down the piano, just these boring scales. Twisting your fingers, you do C scale. And you go up and then you go back down. And for a child, it's really boring. If you want to be a brilliant pianist, nearly everything you play, the vast majority of everything you play, is just scales. It's not fun. And then the final 10% is working on an actual piece of music. Like I might do 90% of these C scales And then 10% we might play Amazing Grace in a C scale. So when we come to this history, what do we have to do to get better at our understanding? What's improving? My brother.
Going back to the past history, if we understand clearly, it helps us to better process our class.
Past history?
Then we get a lot of information from the previous information we knew. So it helps us to build information that is key for us.
Past history, my brother?
Yeah, the more class is built by another dispensation. Like from 9/11 to 2014. So the more class was built from dispensation 2014 to 2019. So I can say that the more class about the past history whereby we don't see clearly or don't have a clear image. So we can see from the dispensation from 2019 to 2021.
Are you Brother Rogers?
I think that is going to be put by a better understanding of our methodology. So that we get clarified, we get to find our information where we need.
So when we talk about practicing these scales, up and down, back and forth, we're practicing the methodology of how to play the piano. So I would suggest why we're getting better in each dispensation, particularly once we come into the history of the second angel, is because we're refining our understanding of the methodology that we're using. What does the second angel bring? Parable teaching. It's the increase of knowledge on our methodology that has refined our expectations. Can we see that? So do you think we can practice or study parable teaching enough and the rules behind it? Every time I see a mistake made, the mistake we're making is we're tripping over or misusing or not using the rules of parable teaching. So it becomes important. So listen to Sister Emma's classes when she does parable teaching. Go through paragraphs. See the repeat and enlarges. We can't do that enough. It's an understanding of the rules of parables that have been able to give us a more refined message. And our brother spoke about how we're going back into past history, and that is what is giving us greater clarity. But we can't go into past history unless we actually know how to unlock that history. And the only way we unlock history accurately is with parable teaching. So those opposed to us, they're watching far-right conspiracy theorists who are saying that the Democrat Party is the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. What's their problem? They've gone into a past history, they've made application. Where have they failed? The method. So those who have left the movement, they're fine with going into past history and making application. But can they or will they use the rules of parable teaching? No. So this is where we and others can misapply. So 2019, January of 2019, what are we expecting the Sunday law to look like? Brother Willie, loudly.
I think early this year we are still expecting the Sunday.
So January of 2019, we're expecting a literal Sunday law? Brother Rogers?
So if you look at the line of 144,000, you have, I guess for the 2019 that's up in the purposes depending on the story. In the line of 144,000, it's an increase of 100. And it's in 2019 when you get to understand the nature of the Sunday law and the Sunday law. So whatever the Sunday law is, to be classed in already what we learned in the Sunday law looks like in 2019 on the issues of equality, race, gender, and disability.
So in January of 2019, we're all expecting, myself included, that this Daniel 11:41 waymark would be a literal Sabbath Sunday issue, a literal Sunday law in the United States. December of 2019, what are we expecting? symbolic, or spiritual. And we're able to unlock that because we're using the methodology of parable teaching. First the literal, then the spiritual. We're using it, we took our methodology and applied it to this waymark. And that's what gave us our increase of knowledge. So through the year of 2019, we have an increase of knowledge on what the Sunday law looks like. Do we have complete clarity on that? No. We know that in the future, we can see just based on the structure that formalization or complete understanding is coming. People are afraid because they don't feel they see the complete understanding now, but the line tells us that we can't yet have it. We are at the beginning, early stages of the swelling, is not yet formalized. Everything that we're putting on this board is the rules of parable teaching. We're comparing and contrasting even our own lines, saying that if there's a concord here, compare and contrast, there has to be a concord here. We know there's a concord here, there must be one here. We're just completing the picture, connecting the dots. If you know those kind of connect the dots puzzles. It's all based on the same methodology. So 2019 is an increase of knowledge projecting forward to Daniel 11:41. 2019 is a concord. Can anyone see concord in 2019? Does anyone want to have a go at that or a suggestion? My sister.
I think we intimate when at the time of the end, then in the 11, those are the major women together with Saturday, Sunday, no COP, and the second Saturday. So in the 11 and the Sunday, the two women are 2019 and 2021. And in 11, being at Boston, 2019 becomes a concord, then 2021 becomes a concord.
Yes. Thank you. So Boston here. So something must be opened. Increase. Formalization. And a test. When we think about 2019, we could go back to 2016 and we have two concords that we mark there. Does anyone remember them? How did Russia interfere in the election and win it illegally? You have two sides. There's two reasons that election was illegal. First of all was the work of Russia. Second of all was the work of Steve Bannon. And when we say Steve Bannon, I want us to see increasingly his link to the evangelical right. Strong Christian, he's all about preserving the Jewish Christian West. This is the religious aspect of the Trump election, that support for him. So Russia, they interfered in the election illegally, and what agency did they use?
Internet Research Agency. The Internet Research Agency.
Internet Research Agency. How is the Internet Research Agency run and funded?
It's funded by Concord Management and Consulting.
Concord Management and Consulting. It's a cover for the shadow firm, the Internet Research Agency, that does all of the dirty online cyber warfare that Russia promulgates. Steve Bannon, how did he interfere in that election illegally? Another one. Cambridge Analytica. And we know that because
the current company Parminder is strategic communication laboratories. From there was time to the United States is still ban introducing the Massa family to fund that was in the United States.
how did we know in 2016 that they were interfering in the election? They told us.
They had a meeting. They had a meeting called Concordia.
The Concordia Summit. This is a summit that is worth investigating. The opening speaker for the first Concordia Summit held was George Bush. World leaders, billionaires, they all come to this summit, the Concordia Summit, to hear the latest in technology and offering. And Cambridge Analytica spoke, headlined the Concordia Summit in 2016, and they explained their mechanisms, they explained how they manipulate the public, and they said they were working in the 2016 election. So we see Russia behind the IRA's Concord Management and Consulting, Steve Bannon and the evangelical right using Cambridge Analytica. That's exposed through the Concordia Summit. So we have two identifiers in 2016 to mark a concord. But beyond that, who is in Concord? Russia and the United States, King of the North and the King of the South in Concord and Ipsus, yes? Concord in the invasion of Poland. You have it coming together. The evangelical right were coming together, weren't they? 2016 election, they came together. 2019, can you see concord or unity? What happened in the last month of 2019?
Trump was being impeached, so the evangelicals came together so that they could assist that man be taken off office.
I think we could see unity in 2019 on a few different levels. The one you marked, highlighting probably the most significant one we need to see, or one of the ones we need to see, the way the evangelical right came together to oppose Trump's impeachment. Another one, the Republican Party, who voted against Trump in that impeachment. Not one. Do you have concord in the Republican Party? 100% unity. The third, I just want us to consider the line of World War I, the peace that is made between the King of the North and the King of the South at the Battle of Raphia. This is a peace treaty, yes? Concord between King of the North and King of the South. So that's three different levels. King of the North, King of the South in concord. It's peace made. We get that from the history of World War I. The evangelicals connecting with the Republican Party, they come into unity. And then we have the Republican Party itself, the completement of the purge that began in 2014. Concord within Trump's government. So taking us back from this study of concord, we're just reminding ourselves of the symbols that we have whenever we think of these waymarks. They become meshed together, where you really can't separate your understanding of them. We've looked at the repeating pattern that exists in every dispensation. We looked at the symbol of midway or midnight. And again, this is the 5 primary waymarks. And when we come to our 5 primary waymarks, Sunday law is the third, and it is midway or midnight. So all you have to do to identify midnight on a reform line is pull out your 5 primary waymarks and find the middle one. Does that make sense? So for the line of the Nethinims, where is midway? In Sunday law, at midnight. Yeah. Midnight or midway, the middle of our 5 primary waymarks. We looked at the formalization, how it projects forward, We're getting better and better and more refined at that through studying our methodology and parable teaching. We still need to understand more of that. I do not think that our understanding of methodology is completed. We looked at Concord. This waymark that we take from Millerite history. We understand that it's just another word for the increase of knowledge. We've looked at the symbology of Concord. We can place ones already in our history through different parables from Pyrrhus that takes us to the 273, to the Battle of Lexington and Concord, 2016, Concord Management and Consulting. We have these different parables that solidify this understanding of this first waymark within a dispensation as being symbolized by this word concord, unity. And we also took that up and identified it as the death decree. So this one is Concord. The first waymark we identify is Concord. Boston, Concord, and Exeter. There is a message unsealed, an increase of knowledge on that message, a formalization, and a test. And this is the pattern that exists within every dispensation. FFA used to accept this. Elder Jeff used to accept this. He said it was beautiful. There's something about patterns like a snowflake under a microscope that become beautiful to us. But they cannot use it. They've had to let it go. Even if they don't say so, if they take that understanding to this board, what's their problem? Do they have an increase of knowledge about the Sunday law? No, they have no increase of knowledge. Do they have a latter rain message? Do they accept 2012? They do not accept it as a waymark. They cannot use that repeating pattern within this board work, so they wouldn't accept much of what we've done today. And the problem with them using that repeating pattern is if they use it, they would come to the same conclusions that we have. So they accepted the methodology, then they saw that the conclusion that the methodology brought to you, they didn't like the conclusion, so they destroyed the methodology. And in destroying the methodology, they've had to go back and destroy our reform lines, because they can no longer accept these waymarks. And with destroying these reform lines, actually destroying the foundation of their own belief system. We can just see that simply when Elder Jeff says 2019 is not the Battle of Raphia. And yet he says 2020, July begins the Battle of Panin. They've already had to start to actually destroy what holds up what they still believe. So there's a just rejecting, if you were to just pull out and reject one part of these reform lines, it's like, do we know a Jenga puzzle? Do you all know what a Jenga puzzle is? When you have all these little wooden blocks stacked together, all holding up a structure, and you play a game where you just try and pull out one and see if the structure doesn't collapse. You pull out one thing from these lines and the structure collapses, because they're built on just repeating patterns. So we looked at Concord. Just reminding us what else we discussed yesterday. Increase of knowledge. There's a message that opens up that does the work of ploughing. Elder Jeff comes with his understanding of Daniel 11, 40 to 45. If you don't like his understanding, what's your alternative? If you're going to sit down to a test, if it's a test, can you pass or fail? Yes. If you can't fail, it's not a test. So at a test, you can pass or fail. If you can pass or fail, how many choices do you have? 2. 2. So if you can pass or fail, one choice must be correct and one choice incorrect, yes? That's how simple it is. It's 2 streams of information. Sounds complicated. It's incredibly simple. If 2019 is a test, you can pass or fail, so you have 2 choices. There's a right answer and a wrong answer. It's that simple. So when we talk about 2 streams of information, all that we're saying is that in each one of these dispensations, there is a correct answer and a wrong answer. And if you choose the wrong answer, you get to the test and you're on the wrong side of a shut door. Does that make sense? This dispensation, time setting, is there a correct answer and a wrong answer? Correct? Time setting. Incorrect? Rejection of time setting, or holding on to what understanding? If you reject the message here, what are you choosing? Loudly?
I'm saying if you reject what and reject the sin in that dispensation, meaning you have to accept what SDA holds to, and that is by a status view.
I want to call it, you have to go back to the Laodicean understanding, a Laodicean Adventist understanding, and you have to reject the methodology, yes? That opened up with line upon line. Come to time setting. If you reject it, what do you have to accept? The old Adventist Laodicean understanding. Yes? An old Laodicean methodology and understanding of those Ellen White quotes. You come to this history. Now it becomes twofold. Why is it twofold in this history? Sorry?
You already having 2 witnesses.
2 witnesses? Yes, we have 2 witnesses for this. Yes, brother. Could you stand up, sorry, perhaps, and loudly?
It's like the dispensation of 2012. Those ones that go back to Christian conditions, which is the understanding of arguments. But if you see here in the history of dispensation of 2012, so, and you can see that those people, we have pastor, we have other day, then this one, right? And you see that you might not be able to see the SD and the element is direct, but you can't see the FFA part. People now use the same SD.
I agree. What two messages do those who have left argue against? Particularly 2 that they don't like. Equality and dispensationalism is the methodology behind it. They've had to reject the methodology because they don't like the conclusion the methodology brings you to. Sunday law. So they're rejecting 2 things, yes? 1, equality. 2, the nature of the Sunday law. Again, they're rejecting the methodology behind it. The literal of 1888 becoming the spiritual of the line of the 144,000. So in this dispensation, what's the one they're rejecting? Why is there 2 that they're rejecting here? Why are there 2 messages that do not appear to be related directly?
Because they have rejected one in the prior dispensation, so when they were having the increase of knowledge, they had to reject it. 2014 was a Sunday law, so they rejected 2014. So now when they come into this history, the issue of 2014 again is being confronted to the movement. So they cannot agree with that conclusion. So including the new message that has come, which is equality, they have also to reject the nature of Sunday law, which they did not see in 2014.
I agree with that. How many lines are we currently on? You, how many lines are you on? Hopefully. 2. How many dispensations are you in? 2. What dispensations are those? This one and this one. So how many messages did you have to accept in the last 18 months? This is why it's been a big 18 months. Because there was a message here about equality. There was a message here about the Sunday law, yes? Because 2018 and 2019, we're getting into a focus point in 2 different dispensations. So the message of equality, what dispensation was that for? Who was that for? Priests, and they rejected this, yes? Sunday law? So they failed 2 different dispensations. Can we see that? They failed equality because it was the light of the latter rain. They failed the Sunday law because it was the increase of knowledge of the 144,000. That's why there's 2 different messages that were rejected that become the 2 focus points that they reject and attack. 2018, equality is already introduced. Even if it isn't laid out on lines, we're talking about Obama and Clinton. It was speaking about Obama and Clinton as prophetically good that angered and then caused their rejection all the way back in October of 2018. So they've rejected this dispensation, the equality of this dispensation, and they've rejected the increase of knowledge of the Sunday law. So it becomes, I think, good in our minds to try and separate those 2 issues and see that they're failing 2 different dispensations. It's not all the subjects, Sunday law and equality, and not all the 2 subjects are the 2 testing messages of the latter rain. All the way back here, they're already tested at the increase of knowledge and they rejected it at its inception. We're out of time, so I might close there. We will come back and review that next time, and we wanted to have a discussion on the lines of Christ. Do you have any other thoughts just before we close? If you kneel with me, we'll close in prayer. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for our blessings that we can come together. Lord, we know that you work through patterns. We see it in nature. We see it in flowers and leaves and snowflakes. We see it in geology, in the human body, in everything. We see how you work off these perfect repeating patterns. Lord, it's what creates symmetry and beauty, and in your parables you teach us of the same thing. I pray, Lord, that even if we do not understand every element, that we'll understand these patterns, that we'll feel solid, established in this message. Lord, we know that we have more to unlock, more to understand. Our journey is far from completed. If it's far from completed, Lord, we have yet a lot to learn, and I pray that each one of us will be willing and humble and not fearful to go through that process. I put all these things into your hands in our further studies. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.